Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de something totally different actually. I am in the country of France at the moment. That's something. So I wanted to talk about that, or rather, my beautiful unseen assistant, aka the bestest wifey in the world, will ask me a few questions that you guys can't hear, but I'm going to repeat. So it's kind of anyway. It's totally a different kind of video because we're on vacation. So the setup is different. I'm just winging it. Okay, whatever. I am this guy still here. I think maybe my very limited classroom full of audience can't tell, but the reason why I'm only putting out one video a week instead of the usual two is because we're on vacation. Okay, so that brings us to question number one. Why am I in France? Well, that's an easy one. Why am I in France? Because my lovely wifey really loves the French language, I think. She says she loves the language. I don't know whether that means that she also loves the country of France. I mean, she says that she loves the French language. Often I'm like, I'm not French. I don't know, maybe, makes me a little sad, but that's also why I am also trying to learn a little bit of French just in case, that's what she's into. I'm there for it, okay? But all kidding aside, she wants to learn French as a second language, and I am very supportive of it because we all love ladies that speak French, right? I'm looking at her right now. She is actually behind the camera for once. There's someone behind the camera. She's just laughing at me. And yes, that is a very, very rambling answer to a simple question. Why am I here? Because my wife wants to be here. But also, I'm not complaining because I love wine and I'm learning to love more cheeses. Even though now that we're in France, there's like 150 different cheeses at every supermarket, and it's kind of like I'm experiencing a significant amount of, decision fatigue. That's definitely real. Okay, so the second question that we decided upon was about what are my first impressions of I guess the south of France, right? Because I have to clarify, I've already been to Paris a few times, 2 or 3 times, I can't even remember. Mostly for work and sometimes for fun, right? But the south of France, the French Riviera area, that is totally new for me. Never been here before, so let's talk about what I think are the major good first impressions and maybe a few not so good ones, right? On the good impressions part, we've been walking around a few like Riviera beach towns at this point, maybe like more than a handful of small towns in the area, based around Nice, all the way to like Marseille. I think one thing we've agreed on is like these little beach towns really reminds me of like Southern California, right? Not more so than Northern California. I mean, I'm not knocking Northern California. Bay Area is amazing for making money, but like people don't talk about the weather as if it's a super positive. So these like Mediterranean beach towns near Nice is much more like San Diego or at least Santa Cruz, right? Like, I feel like it gives me like Miami Beach vibes, some of these towns too. But understand that comparison for me is somewhat artificial because I have never been to Miami Beach. So that's just, what I feel like that city would be like on TV, except here, palm trees and boat slips and people walking around as if they don't have a care in the world, which is very strange. I think maybe because, I've mostly lived in areas where like people work a lot in the United States, right, on the East and West Coast. and like maybe I don't know any better, right? So sorry, I'm rambling. Others good stuff that I really thought was surprising was decent Chinese food and goods. I mean, I guess I don't know what percentage of the population in France is East Asian, but that's surprising to me. And also the relatively cost of living was quite nice, especially compared to Paris, which is my only point of reference in France. Now the bad part, that's easy. There's only a few of them, which is people don't pick up after their dog poo. Totally a thing here. You know, how I mentioned there is good Chinese food, but the variety in Chinese food is, I think, a little bit more limited. In fact, any Asian restaurants tends to have all the Asian variety foods like lumped together. Whatever. And also, this is not strictly limited to the south of France, but the whole store hours. Like, it's hard for us as Americans to understand when we want to go to a pharmacy or even some restaurants and having it arbitrarily be closed, even though the Google schedule says otherwise. Okay. Whew, that was a lot of good and bad. Or, you know, only a few bad. And third and final question for this first impressions video anyway. What has my most interesting experience been so far? And I would have to say it's definitely one of those experiences that my wife picked, where we're staying with a language teacher, like a professional English teacher. Sorry, a professional French teacher who also speaks English in a little like mountain village, I would call it. And for me, this was most surprising because she seems to know everybody in her little town and even some people in her surrounding towns. And I was like surprised by that because I guess I'm too much of an urbanite. Like the idea that you could get so close to your community, I was just not used to it, right? It made me wonder whether that's because our French teacher was just more sociable than us, or just this idea that, you know, human connection was more easily had in a small village or town environment, right? It's probably a little bit of both. I would like to think it's the whole village life thing, because, I mean, let's be clear, I'm Chinese. I lived in the United States, but only in the largest of cities. It's just hard for me to understand like towns and villages that has populations of like barely 5 figures, or maybe even just in the thousands. Like, to me, I mean, my university had a few thousand people, like, and the towns that we're visiting has about the same population. And it's just, I was like, well, if you hang out in a town of 5,000 people, maybe you'll know, like, you know, enough that you could run into them. But I don't know. It's kind of nice. It's surprising to me because I'm jealous of it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I think that pretty much wraps it up for the conclusion of first impressions anyway. I don't know when this video is gonna get posted, especially relative to when I'm out of the country. You know, it might be like, I might be back in the United States by the time this thing goes up, just because, you know, it's kind of weird. I don't really want people to know when I'm, you know, not at home or something. But we'll probably do more of these travelogue kind of videos, and hopefully we'll get my beautiful wifey in front of the cameras, because, you know, to answer the same kind of questions, because she's much prettier than I am, and everyone loves her more than I do. But, you know, she's giving me a funny look, but whatever. You guys, anyone who watches my videos are my friends anyway, so don't, you know. I got nothing, you know, subscribe or whatever, I don't care, honestly. But yeah, okay. Thanks for watching. See you next time.